Hey, everybody. Welcome to the gathering. I am David Ault, and it's always an honor, such an honor to have you spend a little bit of your time with me. Uh, I've been experiencing this sort of heaviness the last couple of weeks, and I've done everything that I knew to do in all of my little spiritual toolbox and trying to just notice it, not rush it, be the witness of it. And it was still lingering longer than what felt comfortable. And so I went on a walk, and there's a park nearby, and it has this great trail that runs the circumference of the entire park. And I think I was on like lap 3 when it dawned on me that I wasn't keeping promises that I had made to myself. I was breaking promises to myself. And what dawned on me was how casual and how just run of the mill accepting I was about these broken promises. And what was an aha for me was I would not be so casual and carefree about anyone else out there who would break a promise to me. So there was a little bit of hypocrisy woven into that. Here I am holding other people accountable at a level that I'm not willing to hold myself at. How easily we break promises to ourselves, but dare anyone else break a promise to us? And so I could see the disjointedness of that. And, it made me think of the great entertainer RuPaul, who says, honey, how are you going to expect the world to love you if you can't even love yourself? And so that started to kind of ring in my ears and in my mind. And I realized just how we are, the collective we, the universal we, and myself, in that, with just setting ourselves up that way, making these promises and then breaking them. And then it isn't so much about breaking them, but it's about what happens after we break them, the behavior around that. Because you see, a lot of times what we do is blame. It is the external out there. The great metaphysician and spiritual teacher Ernest Holmes said the world is but a mirror, reflecting back to us all of the things that make up the interior world, the systems of belief, the levels of awareness that we have. It can be nothing more than that. And so if I'm casually breaking promises to myself, what does that say about me? And what does it say about me that because that is happening repetitively, that I want to place the responsibility or the blame on something out there? That's kind of in a nutshell. It was a lot more nuanced. It was a lot more revelatory for me in my circumference walking around this park. But I went, well, there it is. There it is. I've never really, honestly, I've never really kind of paused and thought how casual I am at breaking promises, and yet how fiercely I want to hold others accountable for breaking promises to me. So what's beautiful about that awareness is, again, now what happens, right? Now what happens? I was drawn back to a book that inspired me at the beginning of the year called Atomic Habits. If you've watched these, you may have heard me refer to it. What I loved about it and what it helped, even in my teachings and kind of rippling effect, that inspiration to other people, was not to focus so much on goals, but to focus on the type of person that you want to be. It's all about sort of embodying the qualities and the mindset and the behaviors of the type of person that we long to be, that we admire, that we are inspired by when we see it in other people. Entertaining the idea that if it's all one, then the thing that I admire, I possess. Holds true on the other side of the coin, that the thing I detest, I possess. But, from the standpoint of, if we have this power to shape and to mold and to create this beingness, and it has no limits, then why not become hyper focused on the ways in which inspiration rushes through us, through the quality of life and the way that people live that, right? And so I'm realizing that I break promises to myself about my writing. I love writing. I love everything about writing. And it has a double-edged sword because it's laborious for me. I edit so much and I get bogged down in the editing. And yes, I've explored different spontaneous ways to do it, but my process is my process as I continue to work on it. But it's the thing that I know that is a part of my soul's karmic yoga, the thing to offer to the world. And I experiment and play in different things, but I will get caught up in comparison. Poetry is a form of my writing, not the singular way, but a form of it. And lately I got brave and started submitting my poetry to literary magazines and journals and publications, and was getting rejected and thinking, well, maybe I'm not good enough. All of the old excuses and confrontations that we run into when one puts their creativity out into the world. Nothing original about that. But I realized that, like most of us, that when there is a rejection or an obstacle, we tend to fall back to old behavior patterns and we break promises rather than continuing to move forward. So I go back to the book, Atomic Habits. What is the type of person that you want to be? I really want to be a person of integrity. I love people who have this deep sense of integrity, that's not demonstrative and announced. It's just the way that they are. They have a discipline about themselves. They have a love of self so much that they care for their mental environment and their physical environment. I love those types of people. I'm inspired by them. I want to be that. And so one of the ways that the book suggests to support that is to make these 1%, these little atomic adjustments. Set yourself up to win. So I was creating appointments, writing appointments for myself, because I get pulled in thousands of different directions because I do many, many things. And I was keeping my appointments. And now here it is, April, a quarter of the year is gone. And I've been breaking my appointments. Kind of like the old gym scenario where we go to get gym memberships in January, and by April, it can be a ghost town. So I've done the same thing. I feel that, well, that's a part of the heaviness, but I hadn't the clarity that what I was doing was I was engaging in breaking promises. I'm saying that I'm wanting something, but my behavior is not matching the mental intention. So there's got to be a congruency there. And so part of the other type of person that I want to be is extraordinarily compassionate. That means I have to be compassionate to myself. So I picked up the Atomic Habits book again, and I went back to the story. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I think this is incredible, fascinating. There was a Hungarian man. His name was Laszlo Polgar. And he had this kind of personal motto that genius is not something that we're born with. It's something that's cultivated. Very analytical minded person. Genius is not something that you're just born with. It's something that is intentional. And so, very unorthodox, he wanted to create an intentional family. He wanted to find a mate, a partner that feels very primal, that would share in this ideology. and would be willing to create a life where they had children and and to set it up so that they could intentionally create a genius environment for them to experience. This is true story. So Laszlo, and he finds this woman, maybe I think he put some ads out or something. And so he finds this woman and they're doing a letter exchange. And finally she agrees. They get married and they have a daughter. And the atmosphere for this genius to be cultivated was going to be around the game of chess. So they got a home. They filled the home with library books, shelves with nothing but books about chess and mental acuity. They put pictures on the wall of famous chess players, and they had chess boards everywhere. And by the time their first daughter was about 4 or 5, she was already very adept at playing chess, and she was able to actually beat Laszlo. They had a second daughter. And interestingly, the second daughter's rate of adaptation to the genius of being a chess player was faster than the first daughter. And then they had a third daughter, Judith. And Judith accelerated far beyond the first 2 daughters, all of them continuing to show this amazing adaptive nature towards the game of chess. So much so that they entered every tournament that they could get their hand on, and they would sweep. Judith, the third daughter, went on to be the youngest grandmaster of the game. And I believe she still holds the title to this day. The Polgar sisters. It's true. I looked it up. There's a documentary about them. There's all kinds of articles about them. But basically, what the Atomic Habits book was pointing out was that they were focusing on an environment where genius could be cultivated. Now, the point of the story isn't about what you think about Laszlo or his wife or why they did those things, or even whether or not the sisters are happy. The part of the story that I'm addressing right now is the environment, the intentionality around the environment. If you do talk to the sisters, and there's many interviews, they will tell you that they are very happy and very ecstatic, and they love their lives, and they've had exciting lives. But it makes you think about my environment, your environment. And if the same process holds true for all of us, and we're focusing on and playing around with the idea of you and I get to create the type of person that we want to be, not create so much, but reveal. In other words, take off all of the belief systems that are oppressive, take off all the story, take off all the genealogy wounding, and just say, right now what I am is a sponge that can be adaptive and can be molded into whatever I want to think, because my mind is unlimited. Then it bears pause when we can look at how we might break promises to ourselves. How can I set myself up to be more available to the things that bring me joy, to the genius seed inside of me? How do I cultivate that seed? And so the other part in the book Atomic Habits that I loved then was about the idea of culture and how we imitate the culture that we are around. We imitate everything. We are sponges. And if we're not mindful about our environment, then we just kind of by default take on the belief systems and the habits of everybody that we're around. Again, not revolutionary, but we do that. And so today, I want you to go back to the idea of what type of person do you want to be? How are you willing to incrementally, little 1% adjustments, set it up within your life that you can prove that you are that type of person? Again, if the type of person that I want to be is loyal and in integrity, and I want to give more time and attention to my writing, I'm going to schedule time in my daily activity to write. If I keep one appointment, that's a 1% atomic adjustment that is supporting the type of person that I want to be. And now the new thing about the culture and the environment is the book says, join a culture where your desired behavior is already the normal behavior. I got to say that again. Join a culture. Align yourself with a group of people or a person where your desired behavior is already their normal behavior. If you think about it, that's not new. Because if you want to learn a sport, you want to learn it from someone who's better at the sport. If the desired behavior then is to be in integrity and to be compassionate and to be self-honoring and to be loyal, then I want to find a culture. I want to find representation. I want to be among those whose normal behavior is already that. Isn't that exquisite? Isn't that a lovely, I'll call it a challenge, but isn't it a lovely challenge? And beware of the fact that you might say, well, I won't be able to find that. It's not true. It's not true. That's just an old, stale belief system inside of you that is already trying to repel an expanded idea. But I want to leave you with this idea. Join a culture, align yourself, surround yourself. Just like the Polgar sisters were surrounded in a culture that cultivated the innate genius seed inside of them. See, the thing that I would say to Mr. Polgar, to Laszlo, is that I do believe that the genius seed is inside of us. I do agree with him that it has to be cultivated, but I do believe that it is an innate part of our inner intelligence. And so what are you and I doing to foster that genius seed? Please don't give me any excuses about your age, about your track record, about your history, about your story. All of that is irrelevant because that seed lies in wait. It lies in cooperation. It lies in participation. And wouldn't it be great if you say, all right, I am open and available to a culture, to a person, to people, to groups where my desired behavior is already the normal behavior. I don't know about you, but that kind of makes me excited. If my desired behavior is to eat better, is to exercise more, then you're all obviously going to be much more successful when you surround yourself by people who that behavior is normal. If you want to read more, if you want to study more, if you want to travel more, if you want to immerse yourself in more spiritual teachings, if you want to be open and available to learning a language or a musical instrument, find the people who are doing these things and surround yourself, immerse yourself in that culture and watch what happens. There's your assignment. Much love. See you next time.